Alright boys, what was good? Had someone on the Discord ask if I could come in here and make a video about the strategy that I use and how I find all my trades in Forex and across futures. So this is going to be a video detailing how I use my confluences in Forex, and then I'll do a separate video on futures because I do trade them slightly differently. I use all the same confluences, however the time frames and the style of trading that I do on both is very different. Yeah, I'm just going to assume that all of you guys already know the confluences I'm trading with. It's the same confluences that TJR uses. I do use them slightly differently, so if that is another video you guys would like, let me know and I can definitely hook that up for you. But yeah, at this stage, I'm just going to run through and say how I trade using those confluences. So coming in on every day, I like to start off with a 4-hour or a 1-hour opening confluence. And this to me is always going to be either a liquidity sweep or a fair value gap. And all this is I look for a high time frame opening confluence to determine the direction of the trade that I want to be taking. So obviously for a liquidity sweep, say, where's an example? See here, we sweep out this low, and if this was this is an hourly low, so we sweep it, and then I would be looking for confirmation to take a long entry. And same up here, say we swept out this high here, I would be looking for confirmations to take a short entry if it was on the market open. And with fair value gaps, I use it for a continuation of price action. So we come up here, this is a bearish fair value gap, so I'm looking for bears out of it. So I use fair value gaps as an opening confluence for continuation, and I use liquidity sweeps as a reversal opening confluence. The difference that I do between the 4-hour opening confluence and the 1-hour opening confluence is the time frame of confirmation and retracement confluence that I'm looking for. So say I have a 4-hour opening confluence, I look for a 15-minute confirmation and then a 15-minute retracement. Whereas if I'm playing off of a 1-hour liquidity sweep or a fair value gap, I'm only looking for a 5-minute confirmation and then a 5-minute retrace. And that's just something that I've found works really well for me. And yeah, I think that balancing the 4-hour and the 1-hour time frame, well, balancing all the time frames and making them work together is probably one of the hardest parts of trading. And yeah, this is just something that I found works for me. I'm gonna come in here and I'll show you guys a sort of how I use that just on a couple winning trades that I had last month. But the main things for me is I want to write it down here. So I have a 4-hour and the 1-hour for opening confluences. And that is always going to be either a liquidity sweep or a fair value gap. Then, so that's the opener. If off a 4-hour confluence, 4-hour, I'm then going to go to the 15-minute for confirmation. And then if it's on the 1-hour, I am going to go to the 5-minute for confirmation. Now, the confirmation confluences for me are inverse fair value gaps and breaks of structure. And those are the only two I use. And that also works really well for me. A lot of the time they'll sort of happen in confluence with each other. Like if you get an inverse fair value gap, you also get a break of structure. But yeah, I'll show you a couple of examples where this isn't the case and where I enter purely based off of an inverse fair value gap. Because to me, inverse fair value gaps, like a break of structure is very simple, you know, like we break structure, we're going in the other direction. With an inverse fair value gap, to me, I use it as we disrespect that original price action and we disrespect the fact that we were moving that way. So therefore, I'm going to sort of assume that we're going in the other direction. Obviously, breaks of structure are more ideal, but when I'm looking for trades, I'm happy to take it off of that inverse fair value gap as well. So confirmation confluences are inverse fair value gaps and break of structure. So we get a confirmation confluence, and then for me to enter, I need to see a retracement followed by a reaction candle on the 5-minute time frame. So off of a 4-hour, I'm looking for a 15-minute retracement. And off of the 1 hour, I'm only looking for a 5-minute retracement. Now, my retracement confluences are, this is another little thing I do. So I have fair value gaps, obviously. That's a big one for me. And I like fair value gaps because to get a fair value gap, price action has to be moving clean. And I find that I have a good win rate off of fair value gaps because of this reason. And usually if you're getting fair value gaps in the direction of the trade that you want to take, it's a telltale sign that price is moving very strongly in that direction. If you get a retracement followed by a candlestick out, like that's probably my favorite entry model. However, I do take into account equilibrium. I use equilibrium a lot, and those are the two main ones. However, I do know that a lot of the TJR fanboys love breaker blocks and order blocks. For me, I do keep them in mind. However, what I find is that breaker blocks and order blocks, 90% of the time, they will be sitting inside of equilibrium anyway. And for me, I find it a lot easier and a lot more straightforward just to think in my mind of order blocks and breaker blocks as equilibrium rather than using them as sort of things on their own, like thinking, okay, like we've broken out. I'll try to find a little example here. So here, this is a good example. We sweep all of this liquidity here. There's another point on liquidity just here. We sweep all of those, and then we get a break of structure to the downside. Now, this is a sort of a higher time frame play, so you might look on a 15-minute time frame. However, this is the breaker block on the 5-minute time frame. So as seen, price comes up, and most people would look at this and say, wow, like we respected this breaker block. For me, it sits a lot easier in my mind to just go, okay, we respected equilibrium. Exact same thing, two confluences. However, I think in my head, I would rather just have this single confluence, which 90% of the time covers the breaker blocks and order blocks anyway. That's just me. If you guys are trading breaker blocks and order blocks, they do work, and I used them in the past. They work really well, and it is a confluence that gets respected all the time. However, for me, I sort of categorize them into a single thing. So my retracement confluences are fair value gaps and equilibrium. And then in brackets, I'll put breaker block and order block. Okay, so after I have a retracement into one of these zones, all I'm looking for now is a 5-minute candlestick out, and that doesn't matter even if we're on the 15-minute time frame. I'm still looking for just a 5-minute candlestick. I'm not looking for another 15-minute. So always looking for a 5-minute reaction candle, no matter the time frame. The only other little thing that I do, if we are in a downtrend, or if say I was looking for longs, we get a retracement, but on that retracement, we break structure on the 5-minute time frame. From that point, I'm gonna look for a confirmation confluence in the other direction, which is, like I said, either an inverse fair value gap or a break of structure. And I use that for both entry models, the 4-hour and the 1 hour. If the 5-minute break structure to get that retracement, I look for a confirmation confluence just to sort of give myself another confirmation that price is going to flip again and move in that direction. So like I said, I use the 4 hour and the 1 hour liquidity sweeps and fair value gaps for my opening confluence. If on the 4 hour time frame, I scale down to a 15 minute. If on the 1 hour time frame, I scale down to a 5 minute. My confirmation confluence, inverse fair value gap, and break of structure. And my retracement confluences are fair value gap, equilibrium, break block, order block. So every single time I go opening confluence, and then I go to a confirmation, then I'm looking for a retracement followed by either a reaction or a confirmation. And that is my entry model. That is what I use on a daily basis whenever I'm trading Forex. I don't sway from that at all. I use it very methodically. I have it all written out right here, sit it next to me every morning, and just ticking boxes. So I'll come in here, and if you want to get a screenshot of that or whatnot, I'll organize it a bit nicer. But yeah, that is exactly my entry model. And yeah, I'll come in here, give a couple of examples of where and how I've used it. So December the 2nd is a day that I caught a winning trade. And I believe that's November. Where's December? The 10 a.m. Okay, here we go. So if I was coming in on this day, I scroll down onto a 4 hour time frame and I mark out the first lot of confluences that I see. So as seen, we have this 4 hour low down here, and I'll change that to black so it actually looks good. I see this fair value gap on the 4 hour time frame here, and I would be happy to use this confluence as either a target or a reaction, purely because we haven't filled it all the way. Like, we filled it, what, maybe 20%. We haven't come up into that 50% mark, and so I would still be happy to consider that. We have this hourly 4 hour high here, however, we've already swept it, and this 4 hour high up here is a bit far away. So now scrolling down onto a 1 hour time frame, we have obviously this high here, we have this high here, and we have this low here that we are already sitting beneath. So we have to keep in mind that the past 2 hour candles, the day has opened and we have swept out this low here. Now coming on, because this is only a 1 hour time frame liquidity sweep, I'm going to scale down onto a 5 minute time frame, and you sort of see that we've already had our reaction off of it. We've broken structure on the 5 minute time frame, and we would have broken structure on the 15 minute time frame too. Now we didn't come down and sweep out this 4 hour low, so therefore I do not need to see a 15 minute confirmation. However, on this one we did anyway. Letting price play out a bit, we get a 5 minute inverse fair value gap, and we actually inverse this fair value gap here as well. So we have two inverse fair value gaps, good confirmation that we're going to go bullish for this day. And then I believe we get another couple of candlesticks taking out this high. So we have had a 1 hour liquidity sweep, we've had a 5 minute inverse fair value gap and a break of structure. We have this breaker block here. However, as you'll see, this is going to be pretty much within equilibrium anyway. And we also have these fair value gaps to play off of anyway. So I would much rather just ignore that and mark out these fair value gaps as potential retracements. And as seen, we get a bit of a retracement going here. We tap into our equilibrium, we tap into this fair value gap here, and then from here all I need to see is a reaction out, come down a little bit further, and Do we get anything? We must do. Right here. This was my entry because we got a candlestick closure outside of this fair value gap. We also inverse this bearish fair value gap, and we came outside of equilibrium. So this for me is a really strong position for a long. I would have placed stops underneath that candlestick, and TP1 I'd say there, TP2 up there, and TP3 probably that hourly high there. But as seen, price ends up ripping off of this model and hits, I'm pretty sure price hit that third take profit as well. Yeah. So that is a perfect example of how my strategy plays out and how I use it to find winning trades. So for today, we would have had an hourly liquidity sweep. We had a 5-minute confirmation confluence. It's going to let me edit that. There you go. And then we had a 5-minute retracement into our fair value gap and our equilibrium. And then we had a 5-minute reaction candle, and it actually so happened that this was a confirmation candle as well, which is obviously just a added confidence booster that we're going to move in that direction. So yeah, let me know how this video helps you. It's a bit of a tough one to make, to be fair. Trying to wrap all of this off the dome took me a few tries, but got it done in the end. Yeah, hopefully that helps you guys. If you do need help and you want to follow this strategy and have me sort of guide you a little bit, you're welcome to join the Discord and ask any questions you have in there. We've got a few boys in there and I'm sure they'd be willing to help you as well. So anyways, peace out. Hope this gives you a bit of guidance, and yeah, thank you boys for watching. Ciao.